where no man or woman has ever gone before.
She is the kind and compassionate leader who has seen a life of loss, but has chosen optimism instead.
But I just really respect the character for the way that she faces life and looks at the world.
She's the embodiment of quiet strength, which I think is an incredible way to portray leadership.
She instinctually understands what each person needs on her crew.
She has to be on top of all that so that the people around her will feel safe.
Safety kiss! I think I'll be okay.
She is basically his chief strategist, his campaign manager. I joke she's the brains behind the operation. Nice. She lets the men do a lot of the talking, and she likes those men still talk a lot. So.
Right. So what's really...
If we're talking to each other, why would we be speaking in English? We're going to speak in our native tongue. And I think that that's really beautiful and wonderful. See yeah, you see the real compassion and love for each other and for what our species stand for.
Original series is the vision that Gene Roddenberry had for the series and for the characters and for the time that he was sort of showcasing.
And any message is subliminal. All kinds of nationalities and sexualities and accents and even species on the bridge, as if that's somehow revolutionary. But I'm shooting this in Toronto, and I live in London. I've lived in other cities around the world, and that's what I see on the streets and on the buses and in the subways. Except that these are very troubled times right now because the most powerful man in the world is telling us that we should separate as groups, maybe fomenting hate between groups. And so maybe there's never been a more important time to tell a great story, the subliminal message of which is that we can work together and should work together and can support each other instead of hate each other.
Where no man or woman has ever gone before.
Change is the essential process of all existence.
Star Trek Discovery marks the first time a Star Trek series has been led by a woman of color in an attack by Klingons, and she was taken in as a child by Vulcan Ambassador Sarek, described the captain-first officer dynamic as similar to a mother and daughter. Paul Stamets, played by Anthony Rapp, will be the first openly gay character introduced in the Star Trek TV universe. The science officer is in a relationship with a fellow Starfleet officer, Hugh Culber, played by Wilson Cruz. Captains the USS Discovery, with the actor noting that Lorca is probably more f***ed up than any other captain seen in the Star Trek universe.
How exciting is it for you to be able to bring a character like Michael Burnham to Star Trek?
It's invigorating. I think it's really fascinating how I fit in to Star Trek. And I think it's going to be very refreshing to see someone like me. That is Star Trek. To now champion diversity in this way, I think is quite radical. It's almost, it seems, from the environment we're in right now, it seems like it's almost iconoclastic, because here we are in opposition to, oh man. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Generals. But yeah, I think it's important for us to fight.
So many awesome action-packed scenes. I mean, what's it like for you shooting those types of scenes?
I love action. Yeah. I love fighting. I love fighting a lot.
I'm learning a lot about you today.
I know, right? I love it.
Why do you think people keep coming back to Star Trek?
Oh, that's a good question.
Don't listen to that crackpot!
It's a story of the kind of future that we need to be fighting for. And I think that's what really, I think it speaks to us on a deep level. I think it speaks to our very humanity. And I think that we are being a reflection of the sort of like best parts of ourselves. In this iteration of Star Trek.
We needed to maintain the core of what Trek has always been about, and yet the scope and scale needed to expand so far beyond anything that had been in television before.
Star Trek Discovery takes place 10 years before the original show with Kirk and Spock. There's all of these opportunities to reveal things to fans.
It lays the groundwork for a lot of the mythology.
The vision that Gene Roddenberry had for the series and for the characters and for the time that he was sort of showcasing.
So many people who've been contributing their talents behind the scenes or in front of the camera. They are fans of the show. They are fans of the franchise.
Wonder who that idiot is.
Their love and knowledge and enthusiasm is so invigorating.
Shut up.
At its core, it's really about cultures coming together, rising above differences and achieving real peace.
What is right and what is wrong.
Discovery is a completely new way of telling a Star Trek story in a way that you might not expect. You should watch carefully.